You might not be a good person. You might just be scared of being disliked. It's not kindness, it's strategy, a performance, a survival reflex dressed up in emotional beige. Maybe you're not kind, maybe you're just terrified of being rejected in a socially acceptable way. Smile, nod, be nice, but inside, you're drowning in your own unspoken no. Let that sit. Because it's not kindness that's driving you, it's image maintenance. You smile when you're seething. You say yes when your gut is begging you to say no. You make yourself small so others feel tall. You absorb tension like it's your divine calling, and then you call it being a good person. But what you're actually doing is emotionally shape-shifting so you don't lose connection. Let's call it what it is. Not goodness. Survival strategy. Nice person syndrome isn't virtue, it's anxiety with a PR team. And the worst part? It works. People like you. You're agreeable, pleasant, helpful, unthreatening. But here's the punchline. They don't like you. They like your compliance. They like your availability. They like your silence. They like that you're convenient. And that's not love. That's conditional tolerance, dressed as admiration. Let's go deeper. You weren't born nice. You were trained. You were trained to equate approval with safety. You were trained to read the room before you read yourself. You were trained to be emotionally useful, so you didn't get emotionally abandoned. You became likable so you wouldn't be left. So now your identity is built on the avoidance of rejection. You don't express needs. You edit them. You don't set boundaries. You cushion them. You don't speak truth. You dilute it with disclaimers and nervous laughter. And then you wonder why no one really knows you. Why your relationships feel off. Why you're exhausted all the time. Of course you're exhausted. You've been auditioning for love in every room you enter. But here's your mirror moment. Being liked isn't the same as being respected. Being agreeable isn't the same as being real. And, being nice isn't the same as being good. You've just been confusing guilt for morality. Because you're not kind. You're terrified. Terrified of what happens if you stop explaining yourself, if you stop softening your voice, if you stop cushioning your no, if you stop shrinking in the name of being easy to love. Let's be brutally clear. Nice people aren't harmless. They're invisible weapons pointed at themselves. They implode slowly under the weight of emotional debt. They smile while swallowing resentment. They praise while quietly loathing. They nod while slowly disintegrating. And the world claps, because you make everyone else more comfortable. Here's the twist. You're not noble, you're performing. And the longer you perform, the more people mistake your silence for serenity. Until one day you snap, and everyone's shocked, because you were always so nice. But you weren't nice. You were starving for safety and using niceness as currency. Here's your reframe. Goodness without boundaries isn't virtue, it's self-erasure. Compassion without clarity is chaos. Generosity without discernment is emotional suicide. So what if you stopped? What if you allowed yourself to disappoint people? What if you let someone misinterpret your silence? What if you said no, without cushioning it with a 6-sentence explanation and a follow-up apology? You'd still be good. You'd just finally be free. See, the real you isn't polite. The real you isn't passive. The real you isn't here to be digestible. The real you is kind, but not compliant, direct, but not cruel, soft, but not submissive. The real you has edges, and those edges are not flaws, they're boundaries. But if you're still measuring your worth by how many people like you, here's the truth. You'll always betray yourself for applause. You'll always twist your truth into shapes that don't offend. You'll always end up resenting the people you bend for. Because people-pleasing is a short-term survival strategy with long-term spiritual consequences. You lose yourself. You lose your intuition. You lose your ability to trust your no. You become so agreeable, even you can't tell where your authenticity went. Here's your mindset shift. Being good isn't about how little you offend. It's about how deeply you honor what's true. And sometimes truth offends. Sometimes it's inconvenient. Sometimes it sounds like, no, not anymore, or that doesn't work for me. You're allowed to say those things without guilt, without apology, without checking the room for reactions. Because honestly, the cost of being likable should never be your self-respect. So what's the alternative? Stop trying to be nice, start being honest, not rude, not reactive, just rooted. Rooted in your values, rooted in your limits, rooted in your capacity. You don't need to be mean to be free. You just need to stop being a canvas for other people's expectations. You don't owe your energy to anyone who demands it through guilt. You don't owe access to anyone who only respects your silence. You don't owe comfort to anyone who gets offended by your truth. You owe you. Because here's what's real. Authentic people don't always get applauded, but they sleep at night. They walk in peace. They attract relationships that don't require shape-shifting. And that's the new definition of good. Not agreeable, not always available, not unbreakable, just real. If this video poked the part of you that's tired of being the nice one, subscribe to the channel, not to impress anyone, but because you're done being the emotional support animal in everyone else's life. You're not a good person, you're a whole person, and now you're ready to live like it.